Alright, so just a quick review of the Ultimarc gun. This gun can be used to play any arcade shooter, and basically the way it does this, it tracks the gun's movement. So basically it's like a mouse, and that bar right there that you have to mount, and there is a specific way that you have to mount this. I tried mounting it the other way, upside down, it doesn't work for some reason. So that bar is mounted next to my marquee, and it tracks the gun movement. So it's basically like a pointer on the screen, and it tracks where your movements are, and basically that's how it works. The gun itself, I put that sticker there just so you know, but the gun has two buttons on either side which you can assign, and then it has a trigger button. The gun itself looks like a Namco gun, like a Namco arcade gun. The gun is very reliable, it's nice, it feels good, it's not very heavy, but it's not light either. There is a few, it tracks your movement really awesome, okay? There's a few drawbacks. The major drawback is there is no recoil whatsoever with this gun. It feels dead when you shoot it, like you're not getting action back. I mean, you can tell something is missing, and the missing thing is a recoil. Now, you can buy the recoil kit from Ultimarc. But it requires DC voltage, so you have to run another cable to it and somehow get the appropriate voltage, which can be done. But you're gonna have another cable here and whatnot. But it can be done, but you're gonna have another cable, and it requires more technical know-how and more tinkering with it. But I think that's a really key, important thing that is missing. And a lot of these guns that you buy from arcade guns or whatever, a lot of them don't have recoil because of the power situation, because all they require is a USB cable, which is that cable that you see there. For the recoil itself, you'd have to you have to basically add more power, send power to it. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of manufacturers are not doing it, is my guess. I'm not really sure, but hopefully that changes in the future. The gun is great, aside from the recoil. It tracks your movement really good. The only problem I had with it, I would say, is when I first got it, this gun would actually go into calibration mode if you press the trigger button for a certain amount of time. I think it's 30 seconds. And when I was playing a game like Operation Wolf, where you hold the trigger button for a long time, it was going to calibration mode, and basically the cursor would go crazy, and I didn't know why. And it's because the auto calibration mode, by pressing the trigger down for a certain amount of time, which you can actually change, which I have changed, and that fixed the problem. So that was one thing. The gun, there is a sweet spot for the gun. You can't be too close. It seems like further away it works better. Like I don't know, I would say like 4 feet from the sensor bar, it works great. It tracks your movement really good. And the only other issue that I've noticed, and this only happens in MAME, sometimes you go ahead and configure the gun as gun 1, you configure the Y and the X axis, and then you go back a day later and you try to play the game, and you have to configure it as gun 2 for some reason, or gun 3. So if it gets that gun 1 is gun 1 or whatever, I mean, I really don't know why that happens, but I notice it only happens within MAME. All other emulators, like the Sega M2 emulator, Nintendo emulator, perfect, flawless, no problem. But if you're looking for a gun to play those old arcade gun games, I recommend it. I mean, I don't think there is a better gun. I think this is the best gun out there, and it just works really well. You can see I made a little U-bolt, which is right there for the holster, and it works just fine. So that's my idea. If somebody's looking for an idea of how to put the gun away, I think that's the best way to do it. Why don't we go ahead and see how this performs. Okay, so here we have House of the Dead, and you can see on this emulator there actually is a cursor on the screen. So as I'm moving the gun, you can actually see it right there. So I'll do this, and I'll move the gun, and you can see pretty much how accurate it is. It's pretty good. I don't know what that is, but why there's 2 now. But sometimes it does weird stuff like that. But as you can see now, it's back. It knows where the corners are, so I can actually go all the way to the corners and back down, and it works good. But there's a few things like that. Like I said, depending on the light, conditions and whatnot that it doesn't really work that well, and for a few seconds, and then boom, it snaps back and it works fine. So you put a few quarters, and then we'll go ahead and test out the gun. Now I'm holding the camera and the gun, so I don't know how good I'm gonna be here. Well, let's see. I think, yeah, we can skip that. You can see it feels very nice in your hand, but like I said, it feels kind of dead because there is reload off screen, just like the arcade. And basically, obviously, unlike the arcade, you need the sensor bar because this is not a CRT, but it's the same thing. You can't really, there is really no difference. But like I said to you, there's no recoil on here, and that's one of the things that I hate about it. We'll play this a little bit. I'm not doing that great because, well. So we're going to test this on Virtual Cop right now, and you can see the cursor on the screen. I can hit the corners just fine, so we'll go ahead and do medium. And it's pretty dead accurate. I mean, I'm pretty far away from the screen, and it's very accurate. It follows my movement really well. There is, once in a while, it just acts like a little weird where it gets out of whack, but then it fixes itself. I'm playing one hand here, and of course you reload off the screen. Oh, I just killed somebody, like you would with the actual arcade game. But again, like I said, the problem with this gun is really, the biggest problem to me anyways, is the recoil. And you'll find a lot of these guns that you can buy, they lack recoil. So for some reason, I don't know why. I don't know if they can't figure out the recoil mechanism and put it on there and make it small enough where, or requires, I think it's just because it requires more power, because like I said, this uses a USB. So I know Ultimarc has a recoil system that you can install in the gun, but you basically need to supply DC voltage to it, which means running another wire aside from the USB cable. Let's get a little closer here. And one thing too that I noticed is, obviously, if you get too closer to the bar, you have to. There's a sweet spot for this gun to work really well, but you can get closer, and sometimes it gets out of whack. So for the sweet spot for this gun is right here, and that's basically where you want to calibrate it as well. And we'll show you a few more games. So this is on the M2 emulator. Like I said before, with for whatever reason with MAME, sometimes you assign the buttons to the gun. Oh shit! Just kill that person. You assign the buttons to the gun and the Y and X axes, and then you go and play the game again. And MAME sees the gun as gun 2 or gun 3 instead of gun 1, or vice versa. Alright, so you get the idea. Let's go ahead and show you another game. So we'll show you another game here on the Nintendo emulator, which is trick shooting. Barker Bill's trick shooting. So let's see how that works with the gun. Again, it's going to work great, I know. On the Nintendo, there is no issue. It always just works. So we'll go ahead and start the game. And you can see there's the cursor for the gun. Actually, I'm holding the gun down right now, but that's what that is. Start. Oh, I have to actually shoot the screen, I think. Yes. So we'll do the first one. You can see how awesome it attracts my movements. That's a good gun to play this to test it on, because there is a lot of movement on the screen and you have to follow it closely. You actually have to hit those balloons right on, because if you don't, it doesn't work. So this is actually a good game, and it's a game that a lot of people don't know about. I remember playing this a few times on the actual system, but then you kind of forget about it. But it's a really awesome game. There's a lot of galleries that have shooting games that you can do things, and the dog is kind of like, if you look at the dog, it's basically like the dog that they have on Duck Hunt. He actually laughs like him too. Kind of sort of mimics what the dog in Duck Hunt did. And there's other stages, like I said, there's other galleries. You don't just shoot balloons, you shoot other things, and this is the most basic one. Almost hit him. I'm playing one hand here, so it's kind of hard to do. See, he's laughing at me. Alright, let's try a different game. Alright, so now we're on the MAME system, so we'll go ahead and try a few games. Unfortunately, one thing I wanted to bring up is this game right here, Freedom Force, which is originally on the Versus system, doesn't work. It doesn't register any shots. I think, matter of fact, all the Versus games on the MAME don't register any shots. What you actually have to do is the Nintendo emulator, they will play PC-10 games and Versus games, so that's where I play these. But on the MAME, actually, on this version anyways, which is 160 I believe I have, it doesn't register. I'm sure if I upgrade it, it could be fixed, but on what I have here, at least on 155, I believe 160. Great game right here. I remember playing this in the arcade with the submachine gun that he's holding right there. I don't know if it had recoil. I feel like it had recoil. I'm not really sure, but we'll go ahead and test this game. This is the opening sequence of this game, which is pretty cool. I remember watching this as a kid. I'm like, wow, this is badass. And then they talk, which is coming up now.
Operation Wolf.
Huh? How cool is that? So we'll put a few quarters, which is this button right here that I have to mimic. I got this from Groovy Gamer. I know I can set it to free play, but I don't like to. I like to actually make it seem like I'm playing the real thing. So I'll press start, and then we'll go ahead and the buttons on here don't do anything. To reload, yeah, these buttons don't do anything, just the trigger button. But let's see if it's out of whack, because I played this game before. No, it's working. See, this is the game. You just basically. Oh, wait, they do something. Those buttons, the red buttons. I'm sorry, the red buttons are for the rocket launchers. So when I put, you can see that when I press the red buttons. So I'll press it so you can see it. She's right here, and it does the bomb. So this button right here on the corner, on the side of the gun, I should say, that does do something. But again, this is, you don't hear nothing. The gun is not going back like this. There's no recoil whatsoever. You're just basically pressing the button. All right, so that's basically. So that's basically how the gun is. I mean, it's a nice gun. It's connected via USB. I have it going all the way down there. You probably can't see it, but then for the holster, I have basically a U-bolt where it just goes in like this, and look, sits there perfectly, no problem.